Teachings. Today I want to spend more time on the topic that we looked at last week, which is research questions. I've been asked by colleagues and students especially to just explain what guides the research questions themselves. And the second question is, how many research questions should we have? And the last question is, what is the difference between a research question and an interview question? So let's look at the first question. What guides your research? Paradoxes in literature, paradoxes in theory. Remember we said, if you are trying to contribute to knowledge and you are doing a research project for your master's or your doctoral thesis, your examiner is looking at your intellectual prowess, into your intellectual maturity, how you make your arguments. Your examiner is also looking at how you are contributing to knowledge. And it's going to be critical that there's a golden thread, as we said in our first series this year, that there must be that golden thread that connects research questions to your methodology, to your literature, to your results, and to your conclusions. So let's look at the first issue. You are guided by the paradoxes in literature, in theory. You are guided by the silences. You are guided by the ambiguities that you find. So we talked about the DNA, and I want to use a metaphor of creation. When a human being is created, they are infused with the DNA of the creator. When you are creating your research, you are infusing that research with your thoughts. And that's the most challenging part, because the assumption is that you understand the processes of critical thinking. You understand argumentation processes, that is, how to construct an argument, because your thesis at the end of the day is an argument. So your research questions are guided by those paradoxes, those ambiguities, your thinking processes. Let's look at the second question. The second question is, how many research questions should your research project have? You can have one question for the entire project and break it down into sub-questions. Or you can have 2 or 3 questions. How many questions depend on how deep you want to go around whatever phenomenon you're trying to unearth with your research project. There's no right and wrong answers. Of course, you don't want to ask many research questions, because each research question requires a specific set of protocols, a methodology, a design to follow. So the more research questions you ask, the more designs that you need to have to address that. So for one research project, you really don't want to have many different types of designs, many different types of research approaches just for one thesis. So that's really what's going to guide your work, is the scope of your work and the amount of time you have. If you are doing a master's or a doctorate and you have to finish in 3 years, you don't want to ask more than 2 questions or 3 questions. So the last issue around research questions is, what is the difference between an interview question and a research question? The difference is that an interview question is actually a question related to your research instrument, and that is part of your research methodology. A research question is a theoretical issue that came out of your paradox that guides the actual research agenda. It's actually the guiding principle, the guiding question that guides and drives your research question. So there's a big difference. Interview questions are just a small aspect of your work. They are related to your research methodology. And I would like to pause there, and hopefully I've addressed these 3 issues that my students asked. See you next week. All the best.